We've got a locked and loaded slate for today. Not a pitcher, but with stacks for tonight in MLB DFS. Usually I'm trying to decide which pitcher I want to use and then deciding on stacks after that. But for today, I think the pitching part is actually pretty cut and dry. So instead, for me at least, the big decision points are at stacks because we've got a lot of good ones for today. And we're going to run through them right now and get you set for Tuesday's slate in MLB DFS. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. My name is Jim Sanas. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to break down the Tuesday main slate over on FanDuel with Lock Night at 7:05 p.m. As always, we are fielding questions no matter where you are watching the stream. We are taking them on the FanDuel YouTube page, also on Facebook and on Twitch. No matter where you are watching, you can get those questions in, and we'll answer them right here on air to get you set for tonight's slate. We can talk pitchers, we can talk stacks, we can talk one-offs, value plays, whatever it may be, general process for MLB DFS. We are taking any and all questions to get you set for tonight. And as a reminder, as always, make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube page or on Facebook and Twitch to get notifications as we go live every day. It's not just the 4 p.m. stream. We also are going live with our MLB DFS podcast in the morning, the solo shot. That is at 9 a.m. Eastern. We also have our PGA DFS podcast with myself and Brandon Gadula. Our breakdown of the Tour Championship is already up on YouTube and on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. And we will also have NFL podcasts live on YouTube starting next week. Every Monday and Thursday, first NFL podcast is 1 week from Thursday. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube page to catch those. And make sure you check out the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed as well. First question comes from Constantine asking for weather updates. As of this morning, there weren't really any games that stood out to me as being concerning from a weather perspective. And, just scrolling through here, I don't think there's anything that looks too bad. I checked out Kevin Roth's primer over on Roto-Grinders as well, and he said that nothing was of note to him either, it didn't seem like. So I think we're pretty good to go, Constantine. You can play this one pretty much straight up. From a temperature perspective, things are pretty normal there as well. 81 degrees in Coors Field. It's a little bit warmer than it was yesterday. That is definitely a good thing there. But outside of that, there aren't really any real outliers. Milwaukee's going to have the roof closed, so don't worry about the rain there. Don't worry about the temperature. It'll be 73 degrees because it'll be indoors. And I think, honestly, things are pretty straight up from a weather perspective. Over on Facebook, Mike, I just need a good Celtics-Raptors lineup. Mike, I am terrible at NBA DFS. I will just let you know that I play it, but I'm not that good at it. Everyone says that NBA is their best sport for DFS. I am that one exception for the person who is actually my ROI there is not good compared to the other sports. So check out Tom Vecchio at DFS_Tom. He is our NBA guy, does the daily ISO on our numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. You want to trust Tom. You do not want to trust me. Mike, if you have a good lineup, I will take it too. So why not? Aaron, does stacking still make sense in the new snake draft mode? Yes. Okay, we actually have not discussed any snake draft yet. So good question here, Aaron. It does, because what you're doing, let's say you are in a snake draft, and for today, let's say you want to stack the Giants, in a full roster mode. You want to stack the Giants. What you're saying when you say you want to stack the Giants is that they are your favorite offense of the slate. And if you take Mike Yastrzemski as your first batter, what you're doing then is you're assuming that Mike Yastrzemski does well. If Mike Yastrzemski does well, we can interpret that it's more likely that Brandon Belt will do well, that Wilmer Flores will do well, that Alex Dickerson will do well. All of those guys would do better in that scenario. So to me, I still think you want to stack. When it comes to snake drafts, the things that I would say is that you don't need to care about value from a stacking perspective. There will be stacks that I will recommend almost exclusively because they give me a lot of salary savings in situations where I need it. If I need to afford Aaron Nola and need to find some lower salary hitters to help me get there, there will be some stacks that I will go to just because they help me accomplish that goal. But for snake drafts, you don't need to care about that. So yes, stacking does still matter. That is a fantastic question. I would say, for me personally, unless you get the last pick in a draft and you could just wait on your pitcher, I'd be going pitchers right away. If you're doing a snake draft for today Aaron Nola should be your number one target because the drop-off after him is significant, at least in my eyes. So, pitcher matters a lot in snake drafts, but stacking does still matter as well. But, Aaron, that is a very good question, and I am glad that you asked. Let's go through Aaron Nola here and discuss why he is the priority for me for today. Aaron Nola has been leaning on a changeup quite a bit, and that changeup has been a really good pitch for him. You can scroll down to pitch info, pitch values over on FanGraphs, and look at the changeup. It's been awesome for him this year. It's been his second best pitch behind his four-seam fastball. He's throwing that changeup a lot. His usage on it is at about 30%. That's up about 10 percentage points from where it was last year, or 11 percentage points, and it's working out. So that has led to a 34% strike or 35% strikeout rate for Nola so far this year, 7% walk rate. The slight concerns around Nola are that he's facing the same team for the second consecutive start, so Washington does know what he's doing, but in that start against Washington, Nola was really good. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. Now he goes back home, and he gets his 4 starts this year that were really good. We're at home. Last year, Nola was a better pitcher at home than he was on the road, so that's why Aaron Nola is the priority for me for tonight. Aaron says, figured as much, but thank you for the confirmation. You are welcome. We actually did a full podcast on an introduction to snake drafts. Brandon Gadula and I did. That's on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. I'd probably search for it because we've done a lot of podcasts since then. But I'd search for it on Google and you get a full breakdown there. We talked about it from an NBA perspective as well. So not just MLB, but did talk about pitcher selection there. Mateo, do you like any Astros for tonight? Yes, I do like the Astros. I think that, Mateo, there are 5 stacks that are pretty even to me, and I could justify putting any of them at the top of my list. The Astros are very much in that discussion for today. I'm on the wrong day there. Let's go to today. All right, so the Astros are facing, they're going to face Luis Garcia to start things off, but then Jordan Lyles will be the we call them the long boy. It's actually just the long reliever, but the long boy. Jordan Lyles, the long boy for the Rangers for today. 6.18 skill interactive ERA this year. 13% strikeout rate, and an 11% walk rate. I believe that is in the 5 starts he has made. Indeed it is. His manager was speculating that he was tipping pitches after his most recent start, so that's probably not good. Not a good sign in general. So I think, to me, that does say we should have the Astros on our list for tonight. I don't think the Astros lineup is out as of yet. It actually is. Okay, this is for today. Yes, it is. Okay, so we have Yuli Gurriel batting 4th. He is $3,000. Love that. Michael Brantley is $2,900. He is batting 3rd. I love that. Carlos Correa is $3,000 batting 6th. I love that. So, let's say you got Aaron Nola in there. You can actually stack 3 of my favorite Astros, and their lineup is already in there. Look at that. We can go Gurriel, we can go Brantley, and we can go Correa. And once we do that, we have 3,180 left over for the rest of our offense. And that's really good. And those are 3 guys I like a lot straight up. So I would say the Astros, given the salary reduction we've seen on these guys, I know there's a reason that their salaries have gone down. It's because the offense has not performed against righties so far this year. There's a reason we're getting them at a discount here. But I still think they're worth it. Let's see here. Gurriel, 98 WRC+, which is kind of okay. Same thing for Correa. And Michael Brantley is actually having good results. So, yeah, you're not even sacrificing results. As far as which of the studs I would prioritize, Altuve, I think it's been getting better recently, but I'd probably go George Springer. And honestly, you could consider Kyle Tucker. I know Kyle Tucker is the highest salaried Astro for today, which is interesting. But I think it's justified given the way he has played so far this year. He has a couple sources of upside, so you can justify anyone between Springer, Tucker, and Altuve. And I would say start with these 3 guys. Start with these 3 guys within the Astros, and then see what you need to help dictate where you go within your studs. But yeah, Mateo, I think the Astros are awesome. Alvin, favorite Giants bats? Their lineup is out, which is great. I've had a lot of annoyances with Gabe Kapler with how secretive he has been about his starting pitchers, but credit where credit is due. Gabe Kapler gets his lineup out in a very timely fashion. So thank you, Gabe Kapler, and we can look at this Giants lineup. Alex Dickerson is probably going to be my number 1 guy here, Alvin. He's $3,200, batting 2nd behind Yastrzemski. That's definitely a good thing, and He is also, I mean, I know the results haven't been as good for Dickerson this year, but $3,200 batting second at Coors Field, that's a lot of boxes to check. So Dickerson is probably going to be my number one guy for tonight within this Giant stack. Yeah, again, not the best results, but good enough peripherals. We could definitely get behind him. I think that Brandon Belt, the walk rate is finally no longer like outrageously high. So I can get behind him. Yastrzemski, if you can afford him, you might not be able to just because Nola is not the cheapest guy by any means, but I do think that it could still work. Yastrzemski's 43. That's not outrageous by any means, but it's also definitely not a value. Wilmer Flores batting fifth. He is $3,500. Let's check out his numbers here against righties. Tends to be known as a guy who hits lefties really well, but above average fly ball rate against righties, super low strikeout rate, slightly above average hard hit rate. The league average hard hit rate this year is 42%. So that's up from last year, but Wilmer Flores is still above that. So honestly, the answer is anyone, Alvin, but if I had to pick one, I would go Dickerson 1. And considering salary, if we're going to go, I would go Brandon Belt 2, and then it'd be between Longoria and Flores. I would go with Longoria over Flores, but they're both really good. So a lot of the guys between 32 and 35 are going to be the answers for me there. Johnny, do you think Nola is that much better than picking Lindblom or just stacking any bat that I want? Okay, good question here, Johnny, because I do think that Lindblom is a good person to discuss. On my sheet, I will always log the pitch counts for each pitcher, and I actually don't have them on here for Josh Lindblom. Big old dummy. That was because I initially had Adrian Hauser as a starter for today, so I was kind of scrambling this morning before the podcast, but Josh Lindblom has not gone longer than 5 innings, I believe, so far this year in any start. He has not had more than 90 pitches. So the pitch count and the length are two fairly decent concerns for Lindblom. So yes, he's getting strikeouts this year. Yes, the matchup is a dream against Detroit, but no more than 5 innings, which means you're probably not going to get that quality start bonus out of Lindblom. And if he doesn't go 5 innings, he's not going to get you a win either. So even though Lindblom has some good peripheral numbers, it's hard to really project him to have a ceiling even when he's facing a team like this, just because it's hard for him to get that 10-point bump. If you get both a quality start and a win, that's 10 points. And Lindblom, based on his usage so far this year, probably is not going to get there. No more than 36 FanDuel points so far. It is the best matchup he has had, but even against the Pirates, who are also terrible, didn't do that much. So if you guaranteed me 95 pitches out of Josh Lindblom, sign me up. I can't guarantee that. I can't come close to projecting that. So Josh Lindblom winds up being super low on my list, honestly. Like I would need to have some guarantees from a pitch count perspective before I would go there. Whereas Nola, I know as long as things are going well, he's going to go deep in the game. So, and especially because Nola's 10-2, like he's not that high salaried. So yes, I very much prefer Aaron Nola, even when you consider the salary. 68 toes, favorite one-off player on the slate. I kind of dig Michael Brantley at $2,900. We were going through the Astros before. I think that he would definitely be on that list just because I think the situation sets up really well for him. I like that team as a stack. So I would say Michael Brantley would probably be towards the top of that list. Nick Markakis, I know, is really boring. Alvin talked about how he's a double machine yesterday, and right on cue, Nick Markakis hit a double, like the first plate appearance of the game. So he lived up to his billing, but he also did pay off for DFS. So I think Markakis works as well. Austin Riley batting 6th again. That's higher than I expected. They're moving him up in the order, so I think that that's definitely helping. Duvall's 7th, so I think you can go again with the 4, 6, 7 batters within this Braves lineup, and then get up to Freddie Freeman. So I would say Brantley's up there. The Braves guys are up there once again. I'm lower on the Brewers than I was this morning. I still like them from a stacking perspective, but their badness, I don't know if it's a word, is annoying me. Their inability to hit, is that a better way to phrase that? Inability to hit has been annoying me. So I'm going to put them down a little bit lower on my list than they were this morning. So that's why I'm going there. Okay, Constantine. Dickerson is going to be... Oh, actually, sorry, I skipped over Alvin. How do you find the league average rates for this year? Good question. Okay, because that's important to know because there are a lot of numbers that do change as season goes along. So every answer from a statistical perspective outside of some stuff is going to come from FanGraphs. We're going to go to FanGraphs. We're going to go to the batting leaderboard here, and we're going to go to league stats. There we go. Click on that. And this is going to show us league-wide stats for 2020. So if I want to see the league-wide hard hit rate, I click on the batted ball numbers, and you see here 41.9%. That's 42% because I'm rounding up. League-wide fly ball rate is 36%, and the league-wide strikeout rate is 23%. So that can give you kind of like a gauge in your mind of where things are. But again, just go to the league leaders page on FanGraphs, click on league stats, and that will show you that. If you're looking for different splits, you want to go to, you can use the splits leaderboard. You can look at like starting pitcher strikeout rates at home versus on the road, and that's the way that I do that. So good question, and sorry I had not explained that previously. Constantine says Dicker is going to be chalk. Yes, I agree. It's still okay because sometimes chalk is chalk for a reason. There are ways to pivot, and that's, I think that there's value to that, but like I'm not going to avoid Alex Dickerson just because he's going to be popular for today. What are your favorite stacks in order from Constantine? Okay, so let's go through here. Because again, I've been kind of switching things around throughout the day-to-day, rethinking the Brewers, putting them down. So I would say I would have the Giants number 1 facing John Gray. Velocity went up his last time out, but still not great. I'd put Cleveland number 2 facing off against Matt Harvey because it's Matt Harvey, and the struggles have been apparent still so far this year. I would probably put the Astros number 2. It's between the Astros and the Braves for number 2. The Braves facing Ryan Weber going back in the rotation. Still has the same number of strikeouts as walks this year, despite having 5 relief outings in there. That's not great. So it's between the Braves and the Astros for number 3. And then I will go with the Brewers, still number 5. Lower on the list, but still in the top 5 for tonight. So Giants, Cleveland, Astros, and then Braves. Actually, let's go Braves, Astros, and then we'll go with the Brewers, number 5. Aaron says, yes, you agree with Nola over Lindblom. Sorry about giving away your core, Aaron. Hopefully not everyone goes here. Maybe we're not just chalk donkeys here. We'll see. Question from Michael. Which Mets bats, if any? The Mets are facing Asher Wojciechowski. I don't know if this is like a dumb take. I tend to be higher on Wojciechowski than a lot of people. Not as it like I'm going to use him. No, please no. But I'm not as inclined to stack against him, especially when there are so many good stacks available on the slate. So I don't have the Mets as high as some other people do for today, but I do still think that you can go at the Mets. It doesn't appear that their lineup is out yet. We'll refresh this and see if it has been released yet, and it appears that it has not. I'm always a Michael Conforto guy. I love Michael Conforto. I have loved Michael Conforto for a very long time, so I could definitely get there. Let's see what other salaries we can find here on the Mets. Okay, so Conforto is $3,100. That's pretty low salaried, so I can definitely get behind that. So I'd say Conforto would be my number 1 Met of today, but they're a bit lower on my pecking order. And Conforto's in a range where there are a lot of other guys I do like as well. Okay, so we talked about Aaron Nola. Obviously, not all of you are going to use Aaron Nola. I understand that. If you want to go elsewhere, I don't think there's like a value play that I actually really like for tonight. Usually we get a question about value play, but just to get ahead of that, I don't really see any values that I actually like on tonight's slate. The other 2 guys who I don't mind are Framber Valdez and Ian Anderson. Anderson is $9,000. Valdez is $9,900. Valdez, I think the strikeout rate will eventually come down on him, but I don't think it's going to come down tonight. He's facing the Rangers. They're a super high strikeout team. They have a 25% strikeout rate, a 71 WRC plus against lefties. They don't walk. They're really bad. So eventually, long term, if you're giving me an over-under on a 26% strikeout rate for Framber Valdez this year, I'll take the under. However, I don't think it's going to go down tonight. So Valdez, he can go deep into games. He went 113 his last time out. That's a plus for sure. He's higher salary than I would like. Like when I opened up the contest when they went up last night and saw him at $9,900, I was kind of turned off. But like, show me someone else on this sheet who really does stand out. Like Lindblom's good, but again, he doesn't go deep into games. And I need that. So I can't go to Lindblom. Kevin Gausman has good numbers, but he's pitching at Coors Field. Michael Pineda, not terrible numbers, but he's coming off a suspension. He went, I think, 71 pitches in a simulated game a couple weeks ago. But if I'm projecting pitches for Pineda, I'm like around 85 or so. And that's not going to be long enough, especially against a White Sox team that is just dusting dudes right now. I don't want to go with Urias because his swinging strike rate's still been low recently. I don't want to go with Plesac. I'm not really sure about his strikeout rate. He's also a higher salary. It's not getting a discount there. So, like, there aren't a lot of good alternatives, especially in the value range. So, although I think that Framber Valdez's salary is higher than it should be, I still wind up going there just because there aren't a lot of other good options. As far as Ian Anderson goes, made his debut last week. He looked awesome. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. The walk rate is always going to be, I think, a concern when it comes to Ian Anderson because it's about 10% in Double-A last year. That's why I can't be like super anxious to use him right now. But the Red Sox lineup, they lost Mitch Moreland. That's a downgrade for them, and they haven't been that great overall this year anyway. So they're a team we can pick on, I think. Anderson went 90 pitches in his first start this year, 11.1% swinging strike rate. So I would say in order, it's Nola, Valdez, and Anderson. But outside of Nola, like, I don't really want to go elsewhere. So we talked about this morning, but I think this does matter. Like, if you're going single entry for tonight, I would say, although Aaron Nola is going to be popular, you just kind of, you suck it up and plug him in because I feel like he's just that much better than the rest of the pack, and his salary does not indicate that. So Aaron Nola, to me, I think is a guy using single entry. And if you're doing multi-entry, like let's say you are in a 10 max tournament, I think you go Nola for 6 or 7 of those lineups. I'm leaning towards 7 right now because I am very okay with being decently aggressive from an exposure perspective, especially a pitcher. But I would say, like, if you're doing 10 lineups, I would go 7 Nola, 2 Valdez, and 1 Anderson and differentiate with your stacks. Because, again, like, we've got good stacking options for today. There were 5 that I listed that I really liked, and the Mets are also in there. Like, I mentioned that I'm lower on them against Asher Wojciechowski, but, like, they could also go off today. So I'm not saying that they can't go off. I'm more so saying that they're not near the top of my list. You could consider the Cubs, I think, as well. But I think that's the way I'm viewing things tonight. Just lock in with Nola at pitcher and then differentiate with your hitters. Question over on Periscope from Dave. Gausman, numbers look good. They do look good. And that's why I'm not going to stack the Padres. Stack the Rockies. I'm not sure how I got Padres, who are not even playing in Coors Field. Anyway, they're playing Coors yesterday, maybe? I don't know, whatever. They're not playing them. Gausman, the reason I'm not going there is this number here, that park factor is hideous. He's playing at Coors Field. Gausman, like, it depends on which source you go to. He's been leaning on what Pitch Info is classifying as a changeup more over his past 5 outings. And in those 5 outings, like 3.12 skill interactive ERA, 33% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate. He does still have an elevated ERA in that time, so it's not like you have to avoid the Rockies, but it's enough where I will avoid them because I think people are still going to have this thought in their mind that Gausman is some really bad pitcher, and I don't think that's the case. I think he had some tough luck last year. You can see the Rockies' implied total is a 6.04, so people are going to stack the Rockies. I think that's fully justified. I get it. Personally, I'm going to be lower on them. There are a lot of alternatives that I want to go to. The Rockies' offense is not good. That definitely helps sway me as well. And I think that when you combine those two things together, and with Gausman pitching really well, it's going to lower me on them. So I am okay with being low on the Rockies. Constantine, you aren't worried about Nola facing the Nats. They saw him a few days ago. Just talked about that earlier, actually. Yes, they saw them a few days ago, but that's also true for most pitchers because we have like this weird schedule where they're only facing division teams. So it's true for most pitchers where they just faced the players recently, and Nola was good in that start, now goes home, whereas he was on the road previously, and Nola pitches much better at home. So that's a concern for Nola. But do you have any pitchers available for tonight who don't have any concerns? Like Valdez is due for some strikeout regression. Ian Anderson is making just a second start. It's on the road in Fenway. So if you can find me a pitcher with no concerns, sweet, I'll lock them in. Nola has that concern, and he did just get rocked 2 starts ago when I was super high on him, and it did not go well for me. However, I'm still going to go here. 35% strikeout rate. Really, not many people on this slate can touch that. So I think Nola is the number 1 for me for tonight. And if it bites me, it bites me. But I think just based on the process, he kind of has to be at the top of our list. That is all the time that we have for today, but as always, make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages. Wherever you want to watch us, we are available there, answering a question from 4 to 4:25 every weekday right here to get you set for MLB DFS. We have, of course, the PGA DFS podcast available on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed, MLB podcast every weekday as well, NASCAR podcast on Thursday, and NFL podcast next week. So make sure you subscribe there as well. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck with your MLB DFS lineups for tonight. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.